In today's video, I want to review this really high quality and yet budget friendly 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery from ENJOYBot. What's up everybody, my name is Dan, welcome to Philly Roaming. So a lot of you guys have been commenting about the options of lithium iron phosphate batteries that are out there. There's obviously the DIY stuff that you can make yourself that I've made several videos of. And also recently I made a couple videos about the big battery Max 2. Max 2 is sort of on the pricey side of a ready-to-go battery, although it's not on the very high end. But I want to show you guys something that is budget friendly, yes, still very high quality. So what I've got here is a 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery by ENJOYBot. This is a very popular battery that I've been reviewed just a bunch of times here on YouTube. There are several videos you can watch. Most of those videos have really good results from their testing, and a few of them, they've even torn this open to show you guys the inside. I'm not going to tear this open, but I will do a full capacity test to show you guys how well this battery performs. And I will also show you, when you order one of these batteries, how it comes in the shipping package. Because to me, it's really important that these batteries are shipped in a safe and secure box so nothing is damaged in that shipping process. What's also nice is that these batteries are ready to ship in stock right now from their US warehouses. When I ordered this, it came to me in a matter of days here in California. So before we go further, let's talk a little bit about the company who makes this battery. ENJOYBot is a brand that was started by the company in October 2016 called Shenzhen Green Energy Technologies Company. This company has been in business manufacturing batteries for over 20 years, mostly for the OEM market, meaning that they'll create white label batteries that other people can put their labels on. That's why you see so many batteries that look exactly like this, that are built exactly like this, because they're all pretty much made at the same place. Shenzhen Green Energy Technology themselves have a couple of brands that they sell this battery under. ENJOYBot is one of them, probably one of the most popular. Chins is another one. And they also have a label called Greenergy that it's sold under, which is not quite as popular. These are popular because you can buy these right on Amazon. And I'll have some links below for you guys to go check it out. Prices can vary depending on when you buy it. But right now, you can get one of these anywhere between $359 and $399 right now, which is by far and beyond one of the best value for dollar that you can get in a lithium iron phosphate battery that's ready to go out of the box. So why choose ENJOYBot over all of these other companies? Well, first of all, ENJOYBot is a brand that is owned by the company that actually manufactures this. This is not just some kind of clone white label product that's being put out by a third party. This is actually a first party product. For the price range that you're going to get this in, you're not going to be able to get higher end features like self-heating or low temperature cutoff. If you live or travel in below freezing areas, make sure you have a way to be able to heat this. You can, however, create your own low temperature cutoff if you use products like the Victron MPPT charge controller coupled with a Victron battery sense, and be able to cut the solar charge off as soon as it reaches below a certain temperature. That doesn't include the ability to still be able to charge this through shore power. So if you're in a cold environment, you want to make sure all of your charging methods going to this battery can be cut off based on temperature. ENJOYBot does make a version of this product that does have low temperature cutoff. It's going to cost a little bit more, and I'll put the link in the description below so you guys can go check out the most current prices for this. As most of you guys that are watching these videos are here to see lithium iron phosphate battery reviews, but some of you, as I've seen in some of these comments, are still AGM or lead acid battery users and have a hard time deciding whether or not lithium iron phosphate is worth the switch. So for those of you that are new to this, I'm going to give you guys just a quick little rundown about why lithium iron phosphate is the way to go. And I'll also give you some cons. For those of you that don't want to switch yet from lead acid to lithium iron phosphate, there are some good reasons, and I'll list them below as well when I talk about the pros and cons. One of the main pros for lithium iron phosphate compared to lead acid is the energy capacity ratio. Generally speaking, you're going to have half the weight and double the capacity. and that equates to about 4 times the capacity for a given size and weight of battery. They also have extremely long cycle lives. They generally speaking have between 2,000 to 4,000 cycles that you can use this battery before they start to show significant degradation. And that usually is at about 80% degradation. So for a 100 amp hour battery, between 2,000 to 4,000 cycles from when it's new, and I know that's a kind of a big range, but it really depends on how well the battery is constructed, what kind of cells they use. But you can expect still about 80 amp hours of capacity left, even after that cycle life. Another nice thing is that they're really fast to charge. They have very low internal resistance, so you can charge this as fast, more or less as fast as you can push current into it. Practically speaking, more people can't push more current into these cells than what battery chargers that are available in the market today. With the AGM or lead acid battery, you have to go through a long absorption cycle, meaning that the current starts to drop before it gets to full capacity, usually between the 80 or 90% range, and takes a long time to reach that 100% charge. It's not so for lithium iron phosphate. Although you can push more current in through an absorption phase, for the most part you can get to 100% charge, pushing as much current as you're able to from your charging source. These also have a really stable voltage range. The nominal voltage for lithium iron phosphate is 12.8 volts, and it stays at that really nice 12.8 volt range through most of its charging cycle, which compared to lead acid batteries, under load they tend to sag in the 11 volt range, which can be problematic for some 12 volt equipment. And when you compare lithium iron phosphate chemistry to other lithium ion batteries, these are relatively safe. There's very low chance of thermal runaway. So a few cons of lithium batteries when you compare to AGM. As I mentioned earlier, they are temperature sensitive, but the fact is all batteries are temperature sensitive. Even lead acid doesn't like being frozen. What happens is that the liquid electrolyte will freeze, and it will do the same in lead acid batteries as well. It's just that when you freeze the electrolyte in a lithium iron phosphate battery compared to AGM, you tend to cause more severe damage in a lithium iron phosphate battery. So that's why you don't want to charge this below freezing, but you can safely discharge it just as long as it's not extremely cold, meaning less than minus 20 Celsius. So the final con is that they're more expensive. But I will show you though, for a battery like this, that argument has largely been overruled because of how inexpensive these batteries have become. Let's talk about the usable capacity between lead acid batteries and AGM batteries. Even though people talk about these batteries being 100% usable, all batteries are actually 100% usable based on its rated capacity. Meaning that if it's rated for 100 amp hours, you will be able to push and pull 100 amp hours into and out of these batteries. That includes AGMs and lead acids. People talk about lead acids can only be used up to 50%, and these can only be used up to 80 or 90%, but the reality is you can use 100% out of both of these types of batteries. It's just that the deeper the depth of discharge, the more degradation you will have to the cells, and what you will do is you will reduce its cycle life. For an AGM, 50% depth of discharge is what it's recommended to get a reasonable amount of cycle life out of them. At 50% discharge, you can expect about 500 to 600 cycles for an AGM battery, and if you discharge it even less at 30%, you can usually double that to get about 1,000 to 1,200 cycles for an AGM battery. If you were to discharge an AGM battery 100% every single time you use it, that is still okay. It'll just reduce your cycle life to about 300 cycles. For lithium iron phosphate battery, to drain it at 100% depth of discharge every single time, you're going to get closer to the low end of that 2,000 to 4,000 cycle life that it's often advertised. But if you drain it just to 80%, you're going to get closer to the high end. And of course, if you lightly discharge these on a regular basis, you're going to greatly reduce that cycle life. So there's a big difference between the number of cycles that you get on top of these advantages that you have with the power to weight ratio, charging and discharging performance, and all of that. So if we do some calculations price wise, right now for this being at about $380 on the average you can buy from Amazon and other places, an equivalent AGM battery is a 200 amp hour battery, and they are just about identical in price. You can get a 200 amp hour AGM battery by Renogy for the exact same price that you can buy one of these today. And between the two of them, you're going to get roughly about the same daily usage capacity if you drain this closer to 80%, and you drain the AGM battery closer to maybe 40-50%. Let's talk a little bit about how people use these batteries. On this channel for Freely Roaming, we mostly talk about off-grid use. So a lot of people will talk about these batteries being used for e-mobility, or lithium iron phosphate, or regular lithium iron batteries using in electric cars or scooters or power wheelchairs and stuff like that. In e-mobility situations, you're going to be draining the battery at a much faster rate, what is referred to as C rate. 1 C rate is equivalent to the amount of power that you have to draw from the battery to completely discharge it in 1 hour. So for this battery being at 100 amp hours, 1 C rate will be pulling 100 amps out of it. So in 1 hour's time, this will be drained completely, and that's pulling at 1 C rate. And this battery is capable of doing that, but you're not going to get as many cycle lives out of it if you draw at that fast speed. So when I do my test, I draw at what I see as a reasonable average draw rate that an off-grid system would have, and that's usually 0.1 or 0.2 C. So for 100 amp hour battery, I tried to pull 10 amps out of it during my test, because that's going to take 10 hours to completely drain this battery. And if you have an average that's higher than that, most likely you have more batteries. So my capacity tests are based on off-grid use, which means I will draw these batteries down at a discharge rate that will drain them in 10 hours. All right, so I want to show you guys how this came packaged. It came packaged like this in a cardboard box, sealed. It has all the stickers that you would want on the side: handle with care, this side up, fragile, handle with care, and inside a foam top. So all the corners are protected. And then these terminals didn't come like this. These came separate in a bag. So this is just these are the studs that come in, and the little plastic caps also came separate, and they come off. And then there's another plastic cap that goes over that. So these are, I believe, aluminum, but there's enough threads to get a couple of lugs in there. I think that's pretty cool. And then there's this little webbing handle, removable webbing handle. You can just kind of wiggle around and get this thing to come out if you're gonna install this permanently somewhere and don't want the webbing to be in the way. And then a nice little booklet, actually. Usually these Chinese made batteries don't have the best instruction manuals, but this one's actually really nice. It's well written, it's high quality printing, nice pictures, gives you the details about the product, and then the other products in the product line. So here you can see they have some of their higher end batteries that have the low temperature cutoff and the self-heating. They're called smart low temperature heating lithium iron phosphate batteries. There's even some instructions on how to operate it, what temperature and what voltage to charge it in, how to connect batteries in series versus parallel, some precautions, extra notes about how to care for your battery, about their BMS even, talks about the operations of the BMS. Comes with a warranty, has a 90-day warranty, and after 90 days and within 3 years, they will assist in completing all the battery testing, and if both party confirm the battery is defective, they will send a new product for free. So it's a 3-year warranty after some inspection, which is pretty incredible for a product this price. That's the warranty card, of course. You can send it in. There it is. That's the ENJOYBot 100 amp hour battery. So here I want to show you guys the capacity test that I did. And again, I use the same type of capacity testers that I use in my other battery test, which is the self-contained battery tester that has its own built-in load, has its own built-in shunt, and also a display and a data logger that shows how much capacity has been drawn. First, I fully charged the battery with my Victron MPPT charge controller using a lithium iron phosphate profile, and I finished charging with 1 hour worth of absorption.
It's been 8 hours and 8 minutes and 50 seconds. We've broken over the 1 kilowatt hour mark. This is still holding voltage pretty well at 91.87 amp hours. Almost 1200 watt hours in. It's going to be done soon. Alright, now it's spending most of its time at 12.3 volts. 99.17 amp hours. We are a mere 34 watt hours away from hitting our rated capacity. There it is, 100 amp hours. 1280 watt hours. Still going. So I'll say one thing really nice about this test rig is that besides it being super compact and small, you can test anywhere, is that you're not relying on a potential voltage cutoff on your inverter as well, because a lot of the times the inverters will have a cutoff below 12 volts, and that means you're leaving capacity in your battery unused. So using this rig, we're guaranteeing that we're using the BMS cutoff, so it's actually going to get the true capacity of the battery so that we're draining it as much as we can. If you really want to squeak out every last little amp hour of it, you can also dial in very precisely the amount of draw you want to have. So through this test, we've been doing 11 amp draw, which is 0.1 C, as I said. It reached over 110. I can't believe it. Reached over 1400 watt hours. 11.1 volts. BMS cutoff still hasn't happened. It's still going. 9.7, 9.65. Still going. I don't know how this is happening. It just, the low voltage cutoff is not, oh, there it goes. All right, so this is a perfect example of what I mean by if you're using an inverter with a load and measuring with the shunt, that you won't get all of its capacity until it reaches BMS cutoff, because below 10 volts, most inverters are going to cut off already. So you'll be leaving some capacity left in the battery. However, realistically, what's left in the battery isn't going to be that significant, and this low of voltage won't really be used by any appliances anyways. But at the same time, this being a capacity test, this will give you a much truer sense of what the BMS is capable of.
The BMS shutoff occurred at about 9.65 volts, which on the average between those 4 cells, it would be 2.4123 volts per cell. So most likely what happens is that the BMS triggered the battery shutoff when each of the cells drop below 2.5. So what I suspect happened is that these cells are so well balanced is that they got down to 2.5 volts by themselves at the same time, and 3 out of the 4 cells dropped to 2.4. That triggered the battery shutoff. Now that's specific to this BMS. Some BMSs will have their battery shut off at different voltages depending on what it's made for. I have seen some BMSs that are set to trigger a shutoff at different voltage levels. It is far less likely that you will drain this down to below 10 volts, because a lot of the appliances that you're using on this battery is not going to be compatible for voltages that are below 10 volts, especially inverters. Inverters have their own sort of safety cutoff that can cut off anywhere between 11 volts to the low 11s or the high 10s. So a lot of the times your battery is going to cut off before you actually are drained completely of capacity. One thing to note for any lithium iron phosphate battery is that if you do drain them all the way down, you don't want to store them completely empty. You also don't want to store them completely full. It is best to keep these stored at about a 50% charge capacity. Store at around 50% capacity, and recharge it every 3 months to that 50% capacity if this is stored for long term. So there you go. That's the EnjoyBot 100 amp hour 12 volt lithium iron phosphate battery. I was really surprised at how well this performed. 12% over its rated capacity. And for a battery that's this inexpensive, this well made, it is in a plastic case and it is sealed, has an IP65 rating, and the company who makes it also is UL certified, which is pretty rare in these low budget batteries. I would highly recommend this. This is a really nice battery. I got links in the description if you guys are looking for a battery like this, so go ahead and look at them down below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.